College parties are supposed to be fun, right? Loud music, cheap drinks, and a bunch of people you kind of know, all crammed into one house. I was a sophomore in college, and my roommates and I decided to throw a massive Halloween bash. We were known for our parties, and this one was going to be legendary. We spent weeks planning, decorating the entire house to look like a haunted mansion, cobwebs everywhere, spooky lights, the whole 9 yards. By 10 o'clock, the place was packed. You could barely move. People were spilling out into the backyard, music was thumping, and everyone was in high spirits, showing off their costumes. I was dressed as a vampire, classic, I know, and I was making my rounds playing the good host. That's when I first saw him. The party was a sea of creative, over-the-top costumes, but this guy, he was different. He was wearing a really cheap, generic zombie costume. The kind you'd grab off the shelf at a supermarket last minute. It was a ripped up shirt and pants with some fake, rubbery looking wounds stuck on. His face was painted a pasty gray, but it looked more like smeared clay than makeup. He was just standing in a corner of the living room near the hallway that led to the bedrooms. He wasn't talking to anyone, wasn't drinking, wasn't even nodding his head to the music. He was just watching. His stillness was what caught my eye. In a room filled with chaotic energy, he was a black hole of silence. At first, I didn't think much of it. Big parties always have a few randoms show up. Maybe he was a friend of a friend, just shy or waiting for someone. I decided to be a good host and try to include him. I squeezed through the crowd, a friendly smile plastered on my face. "Hey man, great costume, having a good time?" I shouted over the music. He turned his head slowly and a weird thin smile stretched across his gray-painted lips. It didn't reach his eyes. His eyes were just blank, empty. I asked him, "So who do you know here? Did you come with Sarah or maybe Jake's crew?" I was trying to place him, to connect him to my social circle. He just kept smiling, that unsettling smile, and didn't say a single word. He just stared at me. The music pulsed, someone screamed with laughter nearby, but in that moment all I could feel was a cold dread creeping up my spine. His silence was louder than the entire party. I tried to laugh it off, thinking maybe he was just really committed to his silent zombie character. "All right, man, stay spooky," I said awkwardly, backing away and getting swallowed back into the crowd. But I couldn't shake the feeling. Something was deeply wrong. For the next hour, I tried to ignore it, to get back into the party spirit. I danced, I talked to my friends, I refilled the punch bowl, but my eyes kept darting back to that corner. And every single time, he was there. Same spot, same unnerving stillness, just watching. He wasn't looking at his phone, he wasn't looking around the room. His gaze seemed to follow people, but mostly it just stayed fixed on the crowd like a predator watching a herd. My unease grew into genuine fear. This wasn't a shy partygoer. This wasn't an actor committed to a role. This was a threat. My host instincts were screaming at me. I discreetly found my two biggest friends, Mark and Dave, both on the football team. I pulled them into the kitchen, away from the noise. "Guys," I said, my voice low and urgent, "there's a guy in the living room, a zombie costume. He's freaking me out. He won't talk. He's just staring. Something's not right." They looked at me, a little confused at first, but they saw the genuine panic in my eyes. They knew I wasn't the type to overreact. "Show us," Mark said, his expression turning serious. We made our way back into the living room, and there he was, still there. A silent gray statue in the corner of chaos. My friend saw him and immediately understood. His presence was just off. It was a violation of the party's unspoken rules of social engagement. We walked over as a group, forming a small, intimidating semicircle around him. This time I dropped the friendly host act. My voice was firm. Hey, the party's over for you. You need to leave. Now. The man's smile finally vanished. His face became a blank mask. For a second I thought he might resist, that this was about to get ugly, but he just gave a slow, deliberate nod. Mark and Dave flanked him, and I led the way towards the front door. As we were walking, my hand brushed against his jacket. It wasn't part of the costume. It was a grimy, worn-out denim jacket over the cheap zombie shirt, and under the jacket, his arm felt wrong. It was caked in something coarse and gritty. As we got him to the front porch and into the light, we saw the full picture. The makeup on his face wasn't just paint, it was mixed with actual dirt and grime. His hands, his clothes, everything under that flimsy costume jacket was covered in soil, fresh, dark, damp earth. It clung to his jeans and was embedded under his fingernails. It looked like he had just climbed out of a grave, or more accurately, like he had just been digging one. A cold knot of terror tightened in my stomach. "Get out of here and don't ever come back," Dave said, his voice a low growl. The man didn't say a word. He just turned and walked away, disappearing into the dark street like a ghost. We stood on the porch for a minute, our hearts pounding, trying to process what had just happened, the sheer wrongness of it all. We went back inside, shaken, and tried to forget about it, but the party's vibe was broken for me. The next morning, as we were cleaning up the mess of red cups and confetti, my roommate Liam came running in from the backyard, his face pale. "Dude, you have to come see this." I followed him outside, and there in the far corner of our yard, hidden behind a large oak tree, was a hole. It was a freshly dug hole in the ground. It was long and rectangular, about 6 feet long, 3 feet wide. My blood ran cold. It was the perfect size and the perfect shape to fit a human body. We all just stared at it, the leftover dirt piled neatly beside it. We never found out who that man was or what his intentions were, but we know one thing for sure. He didn't come to our party for the music. He was an uninvited guest, and he came for a very, very different reason. We called the police, they took a report, but without a name or any real evidence, there was nothing they could do. We filled in the hole that day, but I never forgot the silent man in the zombie costume or the grave he was digging in my backyard. Some stories you hear online sound fake, but when something like that happens to you, it sticks with you. It changes how you see the world, how you trust people. Every Halloween, I think about him. I think about his empty eyes, his silent smile, and the dirt under his fingernails. It's a chilling reminder that sometimes the real monsters don't need a mask. They just need an invitation. Thanks so much for hanging out and listening to this terrifyingly true story. If you have a creepy encounter you want to share, drop it in the comments below. I read all of them. And if you want more stories that will keep you up at night, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next video.